every time.
Yeah, tell me about it. So we're trying out some new setup here on the podcast, the Eddie's podcast. So setting up different camera sets and trying out different configurations, see what works best. But for today, we can talk about the Eddie's podcast here. We'd like to kind of skip over a little bit of the social issues that are happening around us and stuff like that, but not really dwell on too much and just kind of talk about our experiences a little bit, but and see how we kind of make sense of it all, because right now the hot ticket item right now is that Tyre Nichols beat down that he got that unfortunately led to that man's death, and I've seen all of the video that's been available to the public. I've seen some of that stuff that was uncensored from before it was edited by the media outlets, and rightfully so. And hot damn,
I haven't seen it.
I've
seen the initial traffic stop, but I haven't seen the rest.
That is not good. That is not good. Both of us are former police officers and stuff like that. We're both former Army vets. We're current Army vets. We're former soldiers, and man, it's not good. It's not good. Them guys. I mean, the pictures of that young man's face, man, are just It's inexcusable. It's inexcusable. I don't.
Yeah, the pictures that came out of him in the hospital and all sorts of tubes.
Them pictures that came out of the hospital.
Jesus.
I mean, I've never been in a situation where I can see a guy that lumped up and been like, "Yep, he earned it." Nothing really merits that level of force. That was just, and I'd be hard pressed to find any law enforcement friend of mine, at least, that would second that as oh yeah, he did great. He shouldn't have resisted. True, he shouldn't have resisted, but resistance from people you're trying to arrest happens sometimes. Yeah. And that's why trained police officers are supposed to exercise a measure of restraint. Yeah.
It's taught in the academy when we start defensive tactics. It's a minimum level of force required to gain cooperation.
Force, to gain cooperation.
That's from the textbook.
Yep.
Minimum level of force required.
Right.
Sometimes that minimum level is a gunshot.
Yeah.
Because it just goes that way.
Yeah,
Suspect has a gun, is aiming it at you or aiming it at somebody else. Mm-hmm. You have an affirmative duty to defend yourself and others.
Right.
Now, maybe the Supreme Court says, cops don't have a duty to defend you. Most cops will.
Yeah.
9 out of 10 cops, 99% of cops out there will defend somebody else.
Correct.
With their own life. That's
their own
what
life.
They do.
I've placed myself in line to be hurt.
Right.
To protect others before, and
any domestic I've gone to,
and I've placed myself in between danger and civilians plenty of times. Mm-hmm. But I think training is a big factor. I think this is some of it is some of the byproducts from the lack of training these officers received. I mean, I've been reading on some of it.
I've heard something about that too. These guys were undertrained, went through a shortened academy, or didn't have to go through a psych eval or stuff like that. I mean,
right.
I don't know exactly, but minimum background checks, stuff like that. I mean, if what we were discussing earlier when we weren't recording was true about them being affiliated with gang elements.
It's possible that they were affiliated with some gang elements. There's some things out there.
That would have came up in a background check.
Because the beatdown they got was like that guy got that Nichols got was almost like a movie mafia beatdown.
I've heard something similar from other people that have been discussing this topic as well. It's like one guy was saying, it looks personal.
It looked very personal.
It didn't look like a cop that was just jaded or a cop on a power trip. It looked like this guy. Mm-hmm. This guy knew him.
Like they knew this dude from somewhere. Yeah. It's not. What I like to focus on also, these issues. The thing is that, lot of the public and a lot of the initial reactions are immediately focused on the event, which is enormous.
Mm-hmm.
What I like to think about as well is what led them to even be in that position in the first place. So that Scorpion unit that stands for whatever the acronym that they went with. They're in a very bad part of town, and they deal with a lot of very bad people.
Hand me that.
Yeah.
You could look up what Scorpion is. It's not connected. It just pulled off. Sure.
So they deal with a lot of bad people, and it's one of those things that begs a question, like the community that far gone that these people needed to be there to execute that type of job. Another thing I like to focus on too, and just kind of as cops, we don't want to admit it, but we do have the opportunity to. We may not have the duty to retreat on a lot of circumstances, but there are circumstances where the juice is just not worth the squeeze.
Right.
For instance, if I have a guy that's eluding me on a vehicle, and I've had it happen personally. Had a guy evade me, try to do a traffic stop. He took off on me. He was on a motorcycle. Busy part of the day. School buses, cars coming home, people coming home from work, rush hour traffic. I had to terminate the pursuit because it just wasn't safe.
Right.
It just wasn't safe to continue on. In the same token, I've had person that ran from me, evaded me in a motor vehicle. They bailed out of the vehicle and took off. But I did not have the need to chase them on foot because all of their information that I needed for a warrant arrest was contained within the vehicle that they were driving. So a little bit of investigative mind and just kind of like, economy of movement, if you want to look at it like that. Why should I go on a 800-meter dash with somebody when their ID is back there?
Yeah.
All I got to do is, I'm going to have to go back there anyways to get their ID. So the trade-off is that I don't get the collar right then and there. Mm-hmm. But I do get the warrant. I mean, which is what I did. Right. And that person ended up in custody a couple weeks later. So...
and that's the thing about the fleeing felon thing.
The fleeing felon thing. It's
so we got people that run from us. What did they do?
What did they do?
Yeah, so I mean, they evaded the police in a motor vehicle. That's a felony. But what else did they do?
What else
Anything,
did they do?
Nothing. They're not on a murder spree. They're not. They didn't just assault a couple of people. And now they're going to assault somebody else. If they're assaulting, if you had an inclination that they're going to continue their criminal episode, then if you have the you don't have that.
If you have enough reasonable suspicion this person is going to pose a danger to others, because of who he is or what this person has done, you can maintain him in view and try to keep the pursuit going. And at that point, if you do catch up with him later, you're still in hot pursuit of this person. Right. But if they evade you and they got away, there's nothing stopping you from running the vehicle, searching the vehicle, impounding the vehicle, and then extrapolating from that scene all the information that you need for your warrant and subsequent arrest later on. I'm not quite understanding why it went as far as it did. I mean, Chris Rock said it. If the police gotta come and get you, they're bringing an ass whooping with them. And yeah, that may have been true 20 years ago.
Yeah. That's the thing
but
that's not valid anymore.
it's just not valid. With two things. So the proliferation of information is first and foremost.
And we got to consider
cameras,
where we come from and where this happened. This happened in Memphis, Tennessee, a
Right.
big city,
big
known
city,
for
yeah.
violence, a city known for
they have their quirks.
being not too hospitable.
Yeah,
And where we come from, which is rural county policing.
right.
So I mean, we come from a sheriff's department. We're not big city cops. We never have been.
True.
So I mean, we deal with rural people in Central Texas, farmers, ranchers. We deal with some city stuff because there are cities inside the county
And lots of meth.
and lots of meth. So much meth. The place is made of crystal.
Yeah. It's full of mathematicians. Full of mathematicians. But
All geniuses too.
yeah,
Their
oh
own
yeah, oh
minds
yeah.
Every time.
The thing is that you can kind of put into that box the big city thing when it comes to the sector that they operate in.
Right.
A small sector, they're gonna run into the same perps over and over
Right.
again. You and I, as police officers, how many times we've arrested the same person
Over and over.
time and time again.
Over. Yeah.
It's not
Every
uncommon.
time we see them.
Yeah, it's not uncommon for us to run into the same criminal element, reoffending.
Mm-hmm.
Because recidivism is what it is, and the justice system is got its quirks. But the biggest thing is when I was asked as a police officer, I was asked, what's the biggest challenge facing law enforcement today? I believe that the biggest challenge facing law enforcement today lays within the individual officer. There are some external factors that could exacerbate challenges. People recording you or whatever, people accosting you verbally or whatever. Those are all stressors in and of itself. But I think the biggest challenge is getting the ego out of the policing action. So realizing that this is not James doing this. This is the person that's representing the state. This is who you're representing, and this is what you're carrying on.
Yeah. That's not easy to do either.
It's not easy to do. It's not an easy thing. It can be taught, but it's.
The thing is, like, police like to recruit people with some kind of ego because
Yes.
I mean, it bodes confidence, it bodes assertiveness, which a cop needs.
Yeah, and it fosters proactivity.
Right. You
It's
want to go out there and find it.
you want guys that are hound dogs
Prevent
out there that are out there trying to prevent crime, that are actively patrolling, actively looking for wrongdoers and putting those people where they belong. You want that, but the ideal cop is very difficult to find in that respect, because where they may be super efficient in one, they lack on other things because we're human.
Mm-hmm.
So the human element of a lot of these proactive measures is the ego. So you get a guy and you had him, and now he runs from you, and now he does this to you or evades you, or you get butthurt because your probes didn't hit when you tased them or whatever. You know, it's just, I think a lot of that comes from maturity. Once I started law enforcement late in life, so did you for all intents and purposes, but I think we have gotten a lot of life experiences out of the way by the time we joined law enforcement. And that's probably a big difference that I see, is that I had already been shot at. I had already been shot. I've already shot at people. I've already lost friends. I've already been through those little things. And I'm not saying that necessarily you need to go through those to be an effective police officer, but they help. Right. Getting those things out of the way before you put on the badge was a huge plus. Another huge plus was starting at the jail.
Yeah.
Starting as a jailer. Jailer work is humbling. It is humble pie. It is humble pie. I don't think the regular citizen walking around, criminals know this.
Right.
And there'll be a few people out there that you're watching and you got a criminal record. And I know, a couple of you'll log on and, yeah, I got a record. I know what he's talking about. He's right. Some of them COs, man, they learn how to be respectful to people that have some of the worst crimes hanging over their heads you can imagine. From
that was the thing I learned pretty early on as a jailer myself. It's like
you learn,
you be respectful of everybody. I mean, everybody's just a human being when they're
Correct.
in there. Their
Correct.
crimes are none of your business.
Correct.
And that was a hard lesson I
Correct.
learned.
That's a hard lesson.
I was able to read the complaint on one guy, and I shouldn't have read it, but it wasn't illegal for me to do so. I mean, I had access to the complaints.
Yeah, you got to classify them anyway.
Yeah, I got to classify them for the jail anyway. That would take an explanation anyway.
Yeah.
But so I read the complaint. I read the full complaint. Turns out he's a child molester.
Right.
And kind of got this thing. I'm going to fuck this guy.
But
I mean, really, it's the jailers, the COs. It's none of your business what their crime is.
No.
Especially in jail. They have not been convicted. They're being held there in lieu of bond or court date.
Yeah, they have not been proven guilty yet.
Right, they haven't been proven guilty.
At least in the county jail. Most of them, the county jail.
Some of them get sentenced to county jail time,
Some
less
of
than
them
a
do.
year for whatever misdemeanor. If they get a felony charge, they're going to prison if they get sentenced to prison time.
Right.
But, I mean, with the jail, very few of them have been convicted. And the ones that have been convicted, they're usually either on work crews in the kitchen or something like that, cleaning the place. Or, they're given something to do because they're going to be there for a while. And they know they're going to be a permanent party. Most of the people, though, I mean, even so, we come from a very small jail.
Yeah.
Jails I've heard of around here, like Bexar County down in San Antonio, a couple thousand people.
So
Dallas County.
I believe that the experience that you and I got was almost like being put in a microcosm.
Yeah.
Because it was a fair mix of inmates that were really, really bad, and some of them weren't so bad. Like we had a healthy mix of felonies mixed in there, where you deal with the one guy that just had a blowout and just stepped on his dick, for lack of a better word, made a legal mistake. One-time mistake. You're dealing with that guy who's completely remorseful.
Yeah.
Had a moment outside of his head and really, really stepped on it. And you had the habitual ones that are like,
this is what they do. This is how they live.
This is how I break bread. This is how I feed my kids.
Right.
So I give a damn about jail or you.
Right.
Yeah. And and we had a healthy mix of that. And you get your other guys that are affiliated to groups. They're gang members or whatever. So we had a healthy mix during that period of time, and I believe it's still that way now. We're exposed to the crazy white guys. We're exposed to the crazy Mexicans. We're exposed to or other Latinos. We're exposed to the crazy Asians and the crazy blacks and the crazy whatever.
2 Asians that came.
Yeah, the 2-3 Asians that were there. My God, yeah, that guy. But yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give any publicity.
No names.
But in any case, we had a pretty eclectic group, and they taught us de-escalation.
A lot of times.
A lot of the times, like I learned most of my de-escalation techniques. I learned from those inmates by dealing with them, and I also learned. Like I've always known when people are lying to me, but there's difference between when a criminal's lying to you, like a hardened criminal, and when your friend is just blowing smoke on a fishing story. And I learned how to identify those, and that helped me greatly. When I went out in the street, I run into that same pattern of behavior, and I could associate them quickly and go like, oh, this guy is full of it.
Yeah.
And, or whatever, or this guy's about to fight.
Yeah.
So I was able to kind of mold the way I was talking to people and just kind of figure these things out. But, so we had that. A lot of city police just don't have that exposure. Don't have that exposure. I think exposure to county jail and working as a jailer is it takes a world of patience, man. Because
it's a completely different aspect.
It's a completely different aspect of law enforcement that doesn't get the attention that it deserves. And these guys and gals that are in there are working their freaking butts off to keep this facility from basically burning down. and it's not easy. It's a thankless job for those people, but
a lot of time.
but I owe a lot of how I am in law enforcement to my time at the jail. It was a very, very educating experience, and a lot of these cops don't get to experience that, so they don't know how to talk to people. They don't know how to, you get.
Honestly, we've had that discussion at length with other cops on the road.
Oh yeah,
especially city cops when we come into the city and do our deputy thing in the city.
Yeah,
and I've had conversations like that where it's like it's not exposed to the same things, and city cops have a different way of dealing with things because of certain resources at their disposal. City cops have backup almost.
Oh yeah,
within 2 minutes. If it's an emergency, they're in a fight. Sirens are running all over the city, getting to them, and usually backup will be there within 2 minutes.
Right.
County deputy, I'm out in the middle of nowhere, one well town. I'm in a fight with a domestic abuser, trying to defend or trying to defend myself at least.
You may
I
not even
might get back up in a half an hour.
That's if you even have radio coverage.
Right. Even if I'm able to get a word out. And,
if you even got radio coverage. Because I've been in situations where if it wasn't for the fact that that police officer was driving by at that particular time, backup would have never gotten to me.
Right.
But he drove by me and saw me fighting. They're like, wait.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he stopped. So, but it's it's county deputy. But because of that, we learn how to talk.
Yeah.
We learn how to talk and how to
bide time.
How to bide time.
Keep the conversation going.
Because you know where your units are more or less. And we're like, hey, send me another. Yeah, man. And you start talking. You know you got 30 minutes. You're like 30 minutes at least at the fastest.
Yeah.
Let me prolong this as much as possible because if this goes physical, I'm probably going to be able to hug this guy for 15 minutes before I'm gassed.
Right.
So it's one of those things that you don't take it for granted is what I'm getting at. I think security in numbers, but at the same time, numbers do provide some kind of that mob mentality of sorts, that you got your boys with you so nothing wrong can happen. And that hive mind kicks in, And I've seen it on another video.
I've seen it personally here. I mean, where we used to roll, the city cops would be quick to toss insults out there.
Oh, yeah.
Talk shit and ramp people up. And it's like county deputies, me personally, some other county deputies probably. But I mean, me personally, I wouldn't do that just because I'm not trying to rile this person up. I'm trying to get him to cooperate, put his hands behind his back so I can handcuff him.
No, because I learned that I don't have the luxury of telling somebody something that's inflammatory that'll get them riled up and fighting angry because I know backup is like forever and away.
Yeah.
So I don't have the luxury. So even if I did have that personality, it wouldn't have worked out because I couldn't put that personality into play and still be safe. Right. Some of these city police would die a very lonely death in the county because of that kind of stuff. They'll say some crazy stuff to somebody like I've seen.
Or be forced to pull deadly force.
Or be forced to go to the two belt a lot quicker and escalate the use of force a lot quicker. When sometimes it's just good to just shut up. I've done it many times. I've been on the side of the road or on a scene as a backup officer or even as primary.
Quite a few people I've arrested, they knew damn well they were being arrested.
Let that guy talk. I've let him talk.
They bump their guns. They'll talk shit. They're angry about it because they know they're going to jail. But they know they're going to jail. There's no avoiding it.
Another thing is that I taught my young deputies. When I was a patrol sergeant, is that don't forget. You don't forget res gestae. Res gestae are statements that are made involuntarily by a subject or a suspect that could possibly be used against them in a court of law statements that are made voluntarily that could be used against them in a court of law prior to being Mirandized or even after.
Without being questioned.
So I've asked no guilt-seeking question. I've asked nothing of this person, but their demeanor, the combination of demeanor and words utilized in the intent could definitely tip the scale on the case that you're actively working on and tip it towards a possible conviction, because that tape's going to get played. Another thing is going to get played is the fact that you're not reciprocating, the fact that you're not reacting in a negative manner.
You're not making that situation
You're
worse.
not making the situation worse. Yeah. I've gotten into the habit of telling people, it's like, why are you being so mean to me? Just like that. It's like, why are you being so mean to me? It's like, why are you cursing at me? I haven't cursed at you. I haven't said anything nasty to you, but here you are, yelling at me and saying obscene things to me. They look at me like I'm from outer space, but what I'm actually doing is prepping that body cam video for something that's going to be real juicy. Because I have no vested interest in what happens to this person from here on. Yeah. Once the cuffs come on and they go to, but we book them, that's the end of my involvement here, outside of my report. I have no personal anything towards that person that I'm arresting, but I am going to set up my case for success. I can't, however, defend obscene language coming from me and obscene gestures and other things that are unsavory that a defense attorney could latch onto as a catalyst for possible resisting. You know, it's like, well, he said something about his mother, or he said something about calling him a bitch. And any inmate could tell you, if you that's like one of the worst things you could say to somebody in jail is call him a bitch. Yeah. You're going to have problems. You know, law enforcement nowadays, you know, they and I see this a lot with the city police is usually a big perpetrator of this. They're fairly quick to the tongue, and although appropriate in some situations, it just definitely doesn't translate very well into all situations. And I think that a lot of the times, you know, they don't see the wisdom of what's going to be played in your body cam, because a lot of them have never been to court either. And I've been to court where they play body cam video and that place is quiet as a church on a big screen TV. Everybody can hear it, and they hear that cop talking the way he's talking, and they ask him questions and he's behaving in a completely different manner, and you can see it, for a lot of people it's almost disingenuous, because the personality that's being displayed, although under stress, the regular civilian's not a trained cop. He just sees this guy acting like an asshole, and then over here now you're a church boy. And the contrast is sometimes all that defense attorneys need, is that contrast to latch onto something and gain traction on a proper defense, amount of proper defense. You gotta be even keel across the board, not let stuff affect you. I've taken steps back. Like, I've been in situations where, man, dude, I've been like, this guy's gonna get it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take a step back and walk back to my unit. Not said anything out loud, not stopped my body cam, not done anything shady, nothing. Just take a step back, take a breather, and reassess the situation and go right back into it. With like, listen to yourself, don't be a dick, pay attention, relax, and just talk to myself out loud and then go. Another thing I do is I talk to myself inside the patrol car on my way to a call. I'll get dispatched to something, be it domestic, blah, 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 man versus woman, yada, yada, yada. I'll repeat the call out loud inside that patrol unit to myself, almost like I'm being briefed by somebody that's not there. Almost like it's somebody else telling me what I'm about to go do, so I can get my mind in the frame of mind to properly execute. It's basically dry fire exercise is what I'm doing with my brain. Doing a quick dry fire exercise that we learn in the Army, we learn in the military. Little dry fire, blank fire, live fire, same thing. I do a little dry fire verbally. What I need, it's a hot call. I got to run code. There's a lot of considerations. People are around. I got to, pay attention to all these other things. But I also need to get to this call and clear it in the right way. So I won't have to do follow-ups and come back and do other things and get statements. So I'm like, all right, what paperwork do I need? Do I have that paperwork?
Yeah.
Do I need more copies? Do I need somebody to supplement me with things, or help me with other equipment that I may need for this thing? I'll run through the checklist in my mind, and then I'll go, which is what I wasn't doing in the very beginning. In the very beginning, hot call drops, and off we roll. And then I get there, and I'm like, UGHHHH. I don't know what the hell side is up, because the call is completely different.
Right.
In person than it was when it was dispatched.
More than half the time when you're dispatched to a call, seems like a hot call, sounds like a hot call, has all the elements of a hot call. Mm-hmm. It is not.
It is not a hot call. So in order to kind of bring myself back to level, I'll do that little song and dance in my car real quick. I'm like, all right, this. All right, I'm ready. Go. Now I'm in the right mindset and I'll roll. A lot of times I've had cops get to my scene as backup screaming already. And I'm why are you why are you screaming? I've been here the whole time. I was like, dude, it's fine. It's fine. What's going on, man? You all right? It's like, dude, chill. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's fine. No biggie. She wanted to set him on fire, but I talked her down from that, and now we're washing the car, make sure that it doesn't catch fire. It's like, oh, okay, really? That's what you want? Yeah, but let's not bring that up right now. So it's just little things, you know what I mean? Like, now, of course, that's not for me, that's just not it's just my take and how I see things going. Could it get me killed later? I don't fucking know. But one thing that I'm never going to be caught on is on camera beating the freaking life out of somebody because he ran from me.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, he ran from you. You're fat. You know what I mean? That's not his fault. That's your fault. You know? So it's like, it's just one of those things. Like, I realize what you're working with, what your limitations are. I know I'm not jumping over a 9-foot wall. That ain't gonna fucking happen.
Yeah.
I know I ain't running past 2 miles in any kind of sustainable speed where a pursuit could be maintained on foot. That's not gonna happen. You get anywhere between 100 to 250 yards in max speed for me. If you got away from there, I better have everything I need to put a case on you by then. That's it. That's all you get. And those are my limitations. I'm working on those, but it's a constant effort. It's not something that's overnight. But it's one of those things that a lot of people say, you got away from me. You got away from me.
Yeah.
You live to fight another day. People will make fun of you. Thick skin, man. People make fun of you. They'll laugh at you. And it'll be forgotten the next time somebody else steps on it, which will be just like in a matter of a week or so. Somebody else will do something dumber than what you just did, and that'll be the end. But as long as the dumb things that you do while being a cop are funny, you're fine. It's those indefensible moments. God damn, man.
Yep.
I can't get that dude Nichols' face out of my head of how badly he was beaten. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. I've had arguments with the George Floyd crowd, and I mean, I have my opinion on that particular case, and I think that one of the major mistakes that people kind of failed to point out wasn't so much the kneeling on his neck. He knelt on his neck, sure, for a period. Most of the time, if you look at the video really well and you get a real good video, he's hovering over him. What he's not doing is rendering aid, which is his biggest issue. But another thing you got to look at, why is he not rendering aid? Well, his head...
There's a crowd around him.
His head is up and around most of the time, and he's looking at people, at this crowd of people.
Because the guy on the ground is not a threat anymore.
The guy on the ground is not a threat anymore. He's got that secure. But everybody around him is now becoming an issue. and he's got a perimeter full of rookies. That's a terrible situation to be placed in. Could he have done more? Yeah. Now, maybe in his position,
it shouldn't have happened at all. But
it shouldn't happen at all. But maybe in his position, I'm pretty sure that dude was going to die or OD or something was going to happen to him eventually, because he died of the chemicals that he had in his system. But in the video shows him swallowing stuff, so that's also pretty evident. But he didn't render aid, and he didn't try something different. So if what you're doing is not working, you have to be able to shift gears. So what could Chauvin done in a moment like that? Let's get this guy back on the vehicle and transport to the ambulance. When I had a person ODing in the back of my patrol car, I didn't stop where the person was ODing. Oh no. Yeah. I drove like a bat out of hell until I was able to link up with the ambulance that was coming to meet me. Mm-hmm. So we shortened the response time, and we were able to save that lady from completely falling off the edge on OD. So, not to say that the cases are similar, but they are in the same aspect, where he could have relocated that entire scene and away from that crowd. He could have just retasked all his guys, pick this dude up, let's put him in the back, and let's go. Because he wasn't really reacting. So, but he got hyper-focused on that crowd. Mm-hmm. And you can't lose focus of what you're actually there to do. Another thing is that he was looking at that crowd, but he had auditory exclusion. Some of the people that were yelling at Chauvin were yelling good advice. Yeah. Hey, he is not breathing, man. Like pointing at, he is not breathing completely. Because he doesn't have the situational awareness. He's auditory exclusion. He's just seeing, and it's all white noise in his head. Very stressful situation. Extremely. So how do you train for that? You can't replicate it. It's just things that you got to go through. And hopefully you do the right thing. Like, hopefully you'll have the right playbook. Or hopefully the right set of circumstances where you end up doing the right thing and you learn from it. And then from that moment on, it becomes your playbook. So, which is what happened to me. So, because I'm not going to tell you that if I would have been in Chauvin's situation, I would have done anything different. But, because I wasn't there. But, given the circumstances that I was given in my particular situation, it was perfect for me to come out on top. And it did. And that lady did not die in my custody, did not die in the back of my patrol unit, and I rendered aid. But yeah. But this other crap, yeah, insane. I don't know what's gonna happen to them dudes. But now, all the mucky mucks are getting in the middle, and everybody's got something, and it's always racist, and it's always something. And now it's racist that they fired them cops and charged them so fast. Now that's racist.
Really? That's
that's the latest take. That's the latest take. Because they were black, that's why they were administered. They were run through their admin faster because they're black. Had they been white, they would have been suspended or something. I'm like,
you can't win.
Can't win, man. Can't win. And that's that's what I was doing, rubbing my temples like, oh my God. I was like, they've been advocating for cops to get shit canned for stuff like this.
They've advocated for the abolishment of the entire department.
For a long time, and now that it happens, it's racist.
That's the thing. That's the thing I think about. I hear that argument about abolish the police. Do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Put together a vote. Get a bunch of petition signatures. Go to your city council or city mayor or whoever the hell runs your local government, whoever's ultimately in charge of the police department or sheriff's office, and get that. Make a huge petition. If you got enough signatures, you're the people. You influence decisions. Allegedly. Right. See if it works. See if you can actually abolish the police department by that means. Because, you can recall people from political seat for that. Like you can do a recall, have petitions signed, whatever. Get enough signatures that says it should be in the city charter or the county charter or anything you look up like that, and find out what's necessary to get a vote started or to get somebody recalled from office. And you can unseat a sheriff that way. You can unseat elected city officials that way. You can get them recalled. So get them recalled. And if you can do that, you get enough signatures and to trigger a vote to abolish the local police department with no plan to make another one. Just go without cops for about 3 months. You're not going to need that long a time to realize why you need cops. But go for 3 months without police and see what happens. See if the crime. I guarantee you that the
crime is going to go down.
Oh, crime will go to zero instantly.
There's nobody to report it.
Yeah, there's nobody to report it.
There's nobody to report it to. So crime will
goes
just
to zero.
Immediately.
When people say it's like, oh yeah, you just eliminate law enforcement, you'll eliminate crime. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah. Reported crime will go to zero because there's nobody to take the report, nobody to process the report, nobody to report the report to,
nobody to investigate it, nobody
to try it,
nobody know.
I mean, that's how lawyers know that criminals are out there. It's because of cops.
Yeah, I mean. But I tell you, it's
that's the thing. People say like cops create criminals. Cops fucking, do all. They're doing this to like get money. We're not paid anymore for how many people we arrest. Period.
No, we're not.
In the thing. However, there is somebody who is paid more for how many people we arrest. Those are lawyers. They have law degrees. So your elected lawyers are not going to get paid more. They get paid whatever salary the jurisdiction that they work for pays them. So those are your prosecutors. They don't get paid anymore. However, the defense attorneys, they get paid a lot more.
Yeah.
They get paid by however many clients they have, and if they can pay. That's why a lot of them love representing drug dealers, because they can pay.
Yeah.
They always can pay. I talked to lawyers myself. Yeah, they'd love it. As soon as we get a drug hookup, they'll get on that case quick. They'll try to convince the judge that, hey, assign me as,
Yeah.
Because they can pay.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's...
Might want to call it corrupt. It's good business.
It's no different. You become a cardiologist. It's the number one.
It's triage.
It's number one cause of death in American males. It's heart conditions and whatever. But I mean, it's one of those things like you go where the water is. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. It's just kind of the way I see it is just kind of like. I think information is just kind of getting too fast to people, and I think social media and a lot of this, a lot of the modern technology of how to consume information is just it's not advantageous for a regular person to expand their horizons intellectually. They're not. A lot of people are not thinking 2-3 moves ahead. They see cops kill the black guy, and it's a huge demonstration, closing the highways, doing all this other things, and blah 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 blah. But there was no demonstrations before the Scorpion unit was enacted that I know of. Where was the demonstrations against all these criminals that are destroying their city? That promoted the need for a unit like the Scorpion unit to even exist.
Right.
It's one of those things like, it's unjust. Yeah, I see it. And I'd be hard pressed to find a cop out there that'll look at that and go like, yeah, that's some good policing right there. No, I'd be hard pressed to find one. I'm yet to find one. It's just not.
It's pretty ridiculous.
It's pretty ridiculous. They were trading blows with that guy, like they were standing up and
5-on-1.
5-on-1. It was just like handcuffed and fucking cowards, man.
So what's the big thing about
fucking cowards?
A suspect being handcuffed?
Dude, they're in custody. They're in custody.
Handcuff a suspect.
They're in custody, man. They're in custody.
Use of force is no longer really necessary.
It's done. It's done.
Their hands are restrained.
Once you got him restrained, he's done.
Yeah. You can use pulling force to get them to move one way or the other. You prevent them from kicking you when they're trying to get out of the car or getting into the car. They're going to resist. If they're already resisting and they're intent on resisting, then they're going to try to kick you. They're going to try to do whatever they can. But I mean, you can pull on. You can't punch them in the face to get them to stop.
That's
You can't pepper
insane.
spray them. You can't tase them.
That's insane.
You can't use your escalation of force on somebody who's already handcuffed. But you can hold them down.
Yeah.
You can hold them down so somebody gets get them to the jail.
Right.
If they bust out your window, they bust out your window. You're not paying the rent on the car anyway. Who cares? It's not your car. It's the county's car. It's the city's car. It's the state's car. It doesn't matter. The window gets busted. The window gets busted. Get to a holding facility where they have a restraint chair. All of them do.
Mm-hmm.
Get this guy on the ground. You can hold him on the ground for a limited amount of time. If he's screaming and breathing, he's still kicking and fighting. He's fine. Get that restraint chair prepped. Get some people with you. Put him in the restraint chair. Lace his legs down. We've done this 100 times in the jail. Hundreds of times with combative suspects in the back of vehicles coming to our jail. Mm-hmm. I've had it happen. I've had combative suspects in the back of my vehicle going to the jail. Mm-hmm. Took me and 2 other jailers to get the guy in a restraint chair. Get the girl. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
Get her in a restraint chair. And then process her.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's it.
That's the whole process.
That's the whole thing. I'm not. There was another video that came out too. Another pair of cops, fine law enforcement guys, that effected the arrest of this guy, a white guy this time. Apparently, he was wearing glasses or something. He was like in some fast food place. It looked like they had him on his knees with his hands up, and they told him to get on the ground. And as soon as he went on the ground, this cop with the M4 picked up his leg and stomped him on the back of the head all the way to the ground. Yeah. And, I mean, yelling all kinds of crazy stuff. Apparently he had a gun at some point. But you got the guy giving up. He's following your commands. And he's moving slowly because, if you move fast, then you could be going for a gun or something, you know what I mean? It's a furtive movement. So he's going slow. I don't know what this dude did. It probably bad enough where you got a cop responding with a patrol rifle and whatnot. So he stomps on him. His partner stomps on him. And then I guess he wasn't getting compliance fast enough, so he muzzle thumped him. And I mean muzzle thumped him.
In the back?
Oh, like in the face.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Like the guy was kind of looking at him like that over his shoulder. He just muzzle thumped him. Bang! So then, in rapid succession, his partner muzzle thumps him with his Glock, like as well, like almost like monkey see monkey do, like monkey see monkey do.
Front-facing pistol whip. What the hell?
Like he just goes boy and just jabs him in the back of the head with his pistol too. And they got the guy under arrest and whatnot. I don't know what came out of that. I don't even know what city he's from. But a lot of people were using it as a counterpoint to cops not beating up enough white people, because I guess there's supposed to be a quota.
Is there a quota?
There's supposed to be. You don't know? You haven't gotten whooped lately?
This is the thing I was thinking about too.
I put on my uniform real quick. We'll just satisfy that, and I'll kick your ass real quick. And right? No.
Satisfying mine too. I'm people this year.
We could trade.
Yeah, we could trade. Get the quota for you. Check the box.
That's insane, man.
Yeah,
that's insane. So I guess people are using it like I guess they have them. Somebody said that this doesn't happen to white people, and they posted that, and that's been making its rounds too. And I'm like, oh Lord have mercy, what is this shit? Like, I don't think I've ever been that angry at somebody that shot at me. That's just me. I mean, I've been upset.
I've never been shot at as a cop. As a cop, I've never been shot at.
Well, I had that one time, but
yeah,
I had that one time, but it's.
And then I mean, we still don't know if it was at you.
It wasn't like I didn't see the guy pointing at me. Like like he knew that I was there. Mm-hmm. Like I know for a fact that he knew law enforcement was there. I came in with my lights and sirens, and I was outside of his house when he opened fire. But it's like I told everybody.
Right.
I didn't look. Honest to God, I didn't hear any zingers or poppers. Nothing went bow snapping over my head. Nothing. Mm-hmm. I heard a cop blow, and I know for a fact that he knows that I'm here. That's it. That's all I got. So, but it still warranted a shots fired over the radio. So, and I tried to calm everybody down. Just like, hey, I'm not under fire, but this guy did fire, and this is happening. So give me more people. But but I don't know, man. It's just that I don't. I have a bad feeling how this whole thing is gonna pass eventually. This dude will go to jail, and these dudes are gonna go to jail.
Yeah,
and
they should, rightfully so.
And they should.
Yeah.
They should face some kind of justice over that. It's just that I don't know what's gonna happen to our nation after that.
Well,
I don't know what the fallout of all of it is going to be. We're still kind of early, and the thing is that these situations are so minute in the big scheme of things. So running the stats, and I've ran these stats before, but I can't quote them, so I won't quote them identically. But the latest statistics, out of a population of 367 million. Residents, not counting all our new guests from the South,
non-registered aliens,
non-registered people, but people that went through the actual census. Law enforcement interacts with about
like 1%.
With about I think it's 18% of the population every year. Every year. Out of that 18%, there's somewhere in there 18%. Don't quote me though. So it's a small number, but it's about 18% of the population interacts with law enforcement every year. And out of that 18%, I believe 0.00011 something. Of those interactions end up in a lethal use of force. Out of that lethal use of force, less than 100 are, and I'm talking about that 0.0001% is millions of people.
Right.
Out of those millions of people, I'd say close to 100 or so are of the nature that are kind of dubious. You know what I mean? Like the circumstances are a little muddy of why this deadly use of force took place, i.e. whether there was no camera footage or whether the circumstances were murky. Out of those 100 or so that happen every year, the media is privileged to pull a handful. I'd say one or two out of those. So we're talking about it is such a big issue because it should be zero.
Should be.
It should be zero. But human factor is what it is. And you're going to have, even in the military, even with dealing with machinery, anything that's man-made has that 10% rule. 10% of stuff is going to be faulty. So we are where we are. But it is really, really a very rare, it's rarefied air to find yourself in the situation those Memphis guys are and that the freaking Minneapolis dudes were. It's rare. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen at all. It should be none.
I remember hearing the statistic. It's like actually more white people were shot by police than black people by the numbers.
Indeed, but the thing is that
the counter argument to that is like percentages. So,
percentages, yeah.
White people make up more of the population than black people do. So
exactly, and another thing is that
70 some odd percent of the population,
something like that. I forget the numbers, but then also there's another popular thing that people like to throw out there. It's like, well, 17% of the population commits over 55% of the crime, or something like that.
Yeah.
Those are numbers I can't verify right this second because I don't know how 100% true that may be. So I don't want to deal in those numbers. But one thing that I do know is that there are reasons for these things to be the way they are. How we fix them is up to those individual communities at this point, man. How they want to proceed. I think the issue is a lot larger than just 5 guys beating another guy to death. This is a byproduct of a bigger issue. And I really won't get into that right now. I have a pretty good idea what it is, but it's not something I want to kind of speculate without doing proper research. I'm definitely not in the business of trying to steer anybody wrong or be that guy that's a subject matter expert, because I'm not. So, just a Joe drinking coffee with my best friend, drinking coffee, talking, shooting the bull. But I really do think people need to kind of chill out on this stuff and let the legal process be what it is. Don't listen to that dude Ben Crump and all his inflammatory rhetoric.
I still never looked that guy up.
All his inflammatory rhetoric. I wouldn't pay attention so much to that. He's trying to be the next Reverend Jesse Jackson, and
Got to pass off to somebody. He's not much longer for this world, is he?
I don't know. I mean,
how old is he?
I don't know. I thought he was a vampire. He's not a vampire. He was old when I was born. I was born in the 70s. So.
Is it Jesse Jackson? Or?
Not Jesse Jackson. That other dude. Yeah, not Jesse Jackson.
No, it's not Jesse Jackson.
That gone.
He's on CNN now.
Yeah, drawing a blank, but
still a reverend.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But Al Sharpton, that dude. Yeah, Reverend Jesse Jackson. Sorry, Reverend Jesse Jackson.
Yeah.
My apologies.
They both do the same thing.
Yeah, so for the most part,
they're activists and reverends apparently.
Yeah, I
Al
mean,
Sharpton is 68 years old.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, shit.
Jesse Jackson's older than he is.
Yeah, but I mean, 68, that ain't half bad. You still got some miles.
Yeah. Well,
you got all that.
You never know how long you're gonna live.
I mean, I like to think that when you make
Jesse Jackson's 81.
I like to think when you make a deal with the devil, you live for a lot longer than you're supposed to, right?
Maybe. Start into those conspiracy theories.
Like, right.
Look at George Soros.
Yeah.
I want to see a vampire.
That adrenochrome? What's it called?
Oh.
The stuff they take from babies that Alex Jones was talking about?
Oh, God.
Take a bath in adrenochrome.
Yeah, watch him be correct.
He's probably right.
He's been right on a lot of shit.
He's probably right, that freaking nut job.
That man is 92 years old.
Who?
George Soros.
George Soros? Yeah.
This is Wikipedia.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. Look at that guy. He looks like Palpatine.
They modeled Palpatine.
He's going to shoot lightnings out of his hands. Oh, Lord have mercy.
Born Georgie Schwartz.
Yeah. He was a Hitler Youth or something.
Was he?
Yeah, something like that. That's so the story goes.
Not according to Wikipedia.
Of course not.
Of course not.
Of course not. Ask ChatGPT to freaking write you a summary on George Soros. See what it says. He recollects accounting for watches from the Jews and stuff like that.
He was born into a non-observant Jewish family.
Mm-hmm.
Upper class.
Upper German
This
class.
is just Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Hungarian.
Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah,
he describes his home growing up as a Jewish anti-Semitic home. What the fuck does that mean? Jews that hated Jews, or
yeah,
is that what that means?
Yeah. Yeah, he had some pretty fun anecdotes about his youth as a Hitler whatever. I don't think he was Hitler Youth though. Don't quote me on that.
He'd have been the right age. It says here he was born in 1930. So I mean, 1938 he was 8 years old.
I don't think he was legit Hitler Youth, but I'm not sure on that. But I'm definitely not gonna.
He was 13 in 1944 when Nazi Germany occupied Hungary.
I'm definitely not gonna piss off that guy for sure.
Right, he's got enough money to wipe me out.
He could suicide me in front of everyone, and it'd still be suicide. So I'm okay. So please, Senator Palpatine, if you see this, I'm just jokes, man. But I'll tell you, man. Yeah, there's a lot of shady past, man. But I mean,
yeah, it says here, just according to Wikipedia, he was like got out of the country because of the local government, especially the Jewish Council. Like got him and a bunch of other young people out of Hungary when the Germans took over. Yeah. So
his pass is a little checkered right around that time frame.
I don't know shit about his past.
But neither here or there.
No, he's one of the richest men in the world, and he supports the Democrats, which I have no idea why.
Well, because they do what they're told.
Yeah, they do what they're paid to do.
I mean, and they're bigger than the Republicans, which would also do what they're told, but they're not as big.
Right.
So,
yeah,
because
they're not getting that.
That's
paycheck.
another thing.
They probably actually are getting that paycheck. It's just.
I mean,
can't be seen selling to both sides.
Well, true. It's just one thing that I also want to get through to a prospective audience that stumbles upon our channel at some point.
Yeah.
I don't really care what the political affiliation of somebody may be. It's just I think both parties are just freaking terrible. They do the same thing to each other when the other's in power. It's insane.
Yeah. It's just a flip of a coin.
It's just a flip of a coin. Exactly. So what somebody claimed,
trying to impeach this president, because that other party tried to impeach the president, and then
and
the party before that tried to impeach the president,
or because that other one got away with stuff that they didn't get away with, and vice versa. So it's just Capitol Hill's a mess. That whole two-party system is something. But
that's the thing I think people are actually like waking up to nowadays is like the political arm of the United States is not in control of this country. It's kind of obvious. People look at that. It's like. Then they question, well, if they're not in charge, who the hell is? So that's where a lot of conspiracy theories come from. Is the theorizing of who is in charge, who would be, who could be in charge. Somebody who with a bunch of political power. How do you gain political power? The easiest way is through money. Money buys what buys. If you can buy political power with money, then you're going to buy it.
Yeah,
somebody's gonna sell it.
Somebody's gonna sell it. It's unfortunate.
And business is business. All the time.
True. I mean, it's all the same hustle, man.
You got a want. I have a way to fill that want. Business. That's it.
Yeah. I mean,
you got a whole bunch of money. I've got a political seat that I've already earned.
I mean, look at it this way. One of the major proponents for the stifling of the black community garners more black votes than the other party. Yeah. It's I was watching so it's the marketing that goes into some of these parties is it's unreal how well marketed they are towards the demographic that they used to oppress and still do in a weird kind of way, like, but I don't know, it's just I don't like it. I don't like any of it, but there ain't a damn thing we can do about it. We just kind of sit here, talk about it, drink some coffee, smoke a cigar, and just kind of relax and just
smoke it here.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, just kind of kick back and just, I don't know, plug into the Matrix, watch some Netflix or something. You know what I mean, and just do something to distract ourselves, because this thing is going in the direction that it's going. But one thing that is for sure, that as long as the American public retains the ability to stay armed, it's not going to change much.
I disagree. So it has changed, even with those.
Well, it has changed, but
I mean, once you lose freedom,
but it's the better form of tyranny. It's that
the accepted tyranny,
that slide under the table tyranny. You just wake up one day, it's like, oh, what's that? Is that my wallet? No, it's some tyranny I'm sitting on. It's like, that's not so bad, and you just kind of get used to it.
And tyranny in what forms? So I mean,
it's different shades of it.
You've got a political system that's a dichotomy political system. It's two of the same thing. So you got two parties that are proposing to be independent and non-representative of the other. they are representative of the other. You just don't see that on TV because they have to make a show of it. That was George Carlin made the comment before he died.
The king.
One of the greatest comedians ever. But I mean, he was a political commentator. He would have made a lot of money as a political commentator because he was right on most of the stuff he was saying. They both the same thing. They go out and have lunch together. They support each other's like plans and ideas, but you can't see that on TV because they have to make a show of it. It's just acting for ugly people. That's what he called politics. It's acting for ugly people.
Yeah.
He's right that you're putting on a show. You've got to say these incredibly horrible, offensive, divisive things for the people.
Right.
But not for your colleagues in Congress.
Right.
You can't say that to them. You can say it to the people because that's what gets you money. It's what gets you votes.
Right.
It's what keeps you employed. Because you're employed by your constituency. But it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And that's the thing about the power pyramid of the United States. Like the way the power pyramid was set up and I've studied this extensively. We can get into my personal background later. But the way the power pyramid was set up initially was at the top of the pyramid is the most power. It's supposed to be an upside down pyramid. So the top of the pyramid is the largest part of the pyramid, but it's up here. So, and that's how it goes, top of the pyramid. So, the people.
Right.
The way it was set up was the people have the most power. And then you have your county government.
Right.
Not as many people and less powerful. City, state, is some kind of central or federal government. It wasn't called the federal government back then. It was the centralized government to get all the states together to decide what happens with the country. That's why there was no standing army back then. We didn't have a United States Army. It didn't exist. The only standing military branch we had back then was the United States Navy. That was it. Like the Marine Corps was temporary. Like it was an arm of the Navy, but they were only used during the Revolution and during the War of 1812 because they were necessary. There was no United States Army during the War of 1812. There was no United States Army during the Civil War. There wasn't. All of those military expeditions, everything you read about, heard about, they were all done by state militaries. So that's why you hear about the 7th Massachusetts Infantry.
7th Massachusetts.
The
77th Virginia, or whatever,
in the Civil War, the Texas Brigade.
Texas fucking
The
whatever.
Texas Brigade. The Texas Brigade. That's where, like, a place like Fort Hood gets its name. General John Bell Hood was a Confederate general who led the Texas Brigade itself.
Yeah.
That's why Fort Hood, the largest military base in the country by land, I believe.
Yeah,
and it is definitely the hugest in Texas, and it's the primary armor base. Is named after the general who led the troops from Texas in war for the Confederacy. So, I mean, you had all these militaries, state militaries that would have to come together to form a national military, and then that national military would be disbanded after the conflict and go back to their states. So there was no standing army. There was the National Guards, and that was it. They would just get together, fight whatever they had to fight, and then go back. And that was from the Founding Fathers. It was supposed to stay that way. There was never supposed to be a United States Army. Never.
Well,
we both joined it, but
yeah,
it was never supposed to be.
Part of me is like, did I get
because there's too
then?
much power. There's way too much power. So when they ratified that the U.S. Army would be stood up, they had to ratify how many people would be in this standing army.
I got bamboozled.
Both. It's all right. It happens to everybody.
Damn
but so they had to ratify how many people would be in the standing army, how much they would be paid, how many officers there would be, all that stuff. And it's still done today. They still have to ratify that. It's like their yearly thing, their whatever act that they sign every year. It's a Forces Act or Armed Forces Agreements. I don't remember what the hell it's called. But it's the same thing every year. And they always fuck with it. They always put like these weird omnibus bills in there. It's like, oh yeah, we got to sign this so we can pay our military. Well, really, this dickhead has like some shit about like new glass or something for his apartment.
Yeah.
And it's in the bill, so it's getting paid for by taxpayers. It's that's just a wild hair example, but I mean it's true. They always fuck with that bill, and that's why it's always late being signed because they're constantly trying to get the bullshit out of the bill so they can pay the army, so they can pay the military. That's why our defense budget is so huge. It's larger than any other countries out there. It's larger than like the next 10 countries combined. It's ridiculous. We spend more money on defense than the entire planet, and it's like that because of Congress. They've put so much into the standing military, and it's not supposed to be that. is supposed to have the state militaries. If the state is wealthy, the state is going to have a bigger, better military. Like Texas. Texas is one of the wealthiest states in the country. I think the second most wealthy state in the country.
Somewhere in there.
And Texas would have probably the best, most well-armed, well-trained military in the country.
Well, it's one of the highest GDPs on the planet. It's definitely top 10.
Yeah, I think it's what the fifth largest GDP in the world.
Largest GDP in the world, yeah, something like that.
No, I can't be right. It's got to be like the 14th or 15th. I don't know.
I'll
look it up later.
All right, it's in the top 200.
Well, yeah. It's like, what, 289 sovereign countries in the world, something like that. So
it's in the top 200. Yeah.
Texas is not sovereign.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we were never supposed to have that. The Navy was it because it was supposed to protect trade routes, and we needed a standing force to do that. We needed sailors on ships that were maintained with guns and gunpowder and cannonball, and they needed training and all this other stuff. So they needed to maintain a navy to protect their own coast and trade routes. And they did that. The first time they went to war was actually the Barbary Wars, both of them.
Right.
So I mean, if you get into a deep dive in history, but I mean, the government, as far as the power pyramid that I was explaining, is supposed to be the people, then the next government above, which would be in today's language, counties, cities, and then states, and then will really be cities, then counties, more local. So cities, counties, states, and then the national government, the federal government. But what they've done is turned it upside down. So now you got the people at the bottom and the federal government at the top with the most power. So I mean, how many people are in the government that actually make decisions? Make it easy for you. About 400. That's it. That's it. There's however many representatives, about 280 something. It depends on the population of the state. And there's 100 senators.
Right.
Because there's 2 per state. That's it. There's less than 400 people that make decisions for this country. For the entire country. It's not supposed to be that way. It was never designed to be that way. It was supposed to be the states making the decisions for the states within the laws that were set forth in the Constitution.
We are so fucked.
We have been for some time.
Yeah.
This is not new news.
Oh, a lot of it is new to me, bro. Come on,
This
man.
is not new. This has been happening
new.
for. I'd have to look up when the Army was actually ratified. It was the late 1800s.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, so probably about 140 years.
Yeah.
So we had that. Then we had the Hyde Island thing. You ever heard of Hyde Island?
No.
Okay, so that's when currency became worthless.
I mean, worthless right now.
Well, yeah, it has been for some time. But Hyde Island was the creation of the federal bank. There was never supposed to be a centralized bank. Ben Franklin himself argued against it. There should be no central bank for the country. There shouldn't be one. But there is one. It's called the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, but that's private.
It's a private company. Yeah. It's a private company that runs the economy for the United States. They are able to make, and there are pros and cons of having that. There really are. There are some good things, the good aspects from a central bank that's able to do that. The thing is, we have a Treasury Department. Why doesn't the Department of the Treasury do what the Fed does? Why not? Why was the federal bank necessary?
Soros.
No, I don't think Soros had anything to do with it. No, he wasn't born at the time.
Palpatine.
But Palpatine. But and that's the thing. Why doesn't the Treasury Department do what the Fed does? And I had to look into it and actually research it. I've learned it at one point. I've heard like speeches on it and stuff like that. But the federal bank, the main reason to have a federal bank doesn't seem to be to the benefit of the country. It's to the benefit of the company. Whatever company owns it. Because they own the money of the U.S.
I mean, and
the U.S. is the world reserve currency.
It's the same. I mean, we're in the times of Blade Runner. We don't even know it.
We're getting there pretty quickly, and it's getting faster and faster and faster. And that's the thing I'm actually kind of worried about. So look over the last 100 years before we were born. Well, we go back just to 1900. What was the pinnacle of technology in 1900? We didn't have machine guns.
What was it? Steam?
Yeah.
Gasoline engine.
So
or something?
that's the thing. The main power source,
right.
The most powerful power source back then was compression, steam compression mostly. And it wasn't until somebody created the internal combustion engine that we actually got this boost of technology.
Right.
So I mean, oil products became a lot more lucrative. Oil, what's it called? They go out and prospect for oil. prospecting and like extracting oil from the ground,
fracking and all this other stuff. Yeah,
all of that stuff, getting oil out of the ground and putting it into a processing plant, turning it into gasoline. That's one product that comes from crude oil. One. There are hundreds.
Yeah,
we're wearing them.
We'd be naked. We'd be butt naked right now.
We're wearing them. It's this computer, this cloth, this table, all that foam.
But thanks to the benefits,
that foam,
everything that's pretty much everything that is
this
black
building
in color.
Yeah.
That's plastic. It's petroleum based for the most part. The paint, I mean, just about everything.
Yeah, just about everything is petroleum based. If it's not petroleum based, it was petroleum produced. So it had to have petroleum in the process to be produced.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you take a look at that microphone right there, the steel that covers the condenser on that microphone, how did that steel get to the plant? By truck.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
I mean, all of it revolves around petroleum. So even if you do get rid of like internal combustion engine vehicles, you're not going to get rid of petroleum. Period. You can't, because the entire world exists on it. We have for about 100 years now. So back then, the most powerful energy source we had was compression engines, and that was the trains. And so, I mean, everything was based on a boiler. So even like trains that had like a burner in there, they're heating up oil. They're not oil. They're heating up a water reserve to drive steam. So those are steam engines.
Right.
Same thing in ships with those old school, tiny, like big ass wheels on them, pedal wheels. I don't know what they're called.
Well, they're hydro powered or whatever.
They're steam powered.
Yeah. Oh, no, not hydro powered. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, they're steam powered.
But they're.
Even nuclear power plants today, all of our power is based on spinning stuff. So, I mean, nuclear power plants, what do? They heat up water. That's what they do.
Right.
They heat up a shit ton of water, put it through a small pipe, and have a little fan on it that spins like a motherfucker and creates energy. That's what produces energy. Every generator is produced on a spinning motion. So if you can make something spin really fast, you can create energy.
Yeah.
And if you have battery technology, you can store it and sell it and move it different places. Same thing with wires.
Yeah.
So you have the capacity on wires to move that kind of electricity, which is where Tesla came in with the DC and AC current. He made AC current, alternating current, so you can actually push fucking energy without using batteries and actually move it a long distance. Direct current, you wouldn't have that option. It'd be going from one power plant to another and being shoved to another. It'd be hugely costly. But I mean, all these power sources, this one power source, steam engines. That was the pinnacle of power at the time. Before that, what was it? Horses. That's it. Horses. Animal power. So, and before that, how long did that era last? So the horse era lasted for as long as history is concerned. When we first started domesticating horses, which I have no idea when that was, but when we first started domesticating animals and beasts of burden, horses, oxen, cows, stuff like that, that could pull something a hell of a lot heavier than what we were capable of pulling, that era lasted until like 1880. When steam engine technology really came into its own, and you had trains, you had ships, you had all sorts of stuff, but even the Titanic was mostly steam.
Yeah,
it had a coal burning. Yeah, it was coal burning engines. So I mean, they were just heating up steam reserves or water reserves to produce steam.
Yeah, but the thing is that how for me is just kind of like it's like we sit in a time where like here we are broadcasting our ideas and talking.
Yeah. We could probably make like 2 shows out of this.
Probably.
Yeah. Pause it and smoke. Get your thoughts together.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Okay. It's just we'll take a break here in a second. We got like another 2 minutes, and but it's just kind of like how it's against a governmental entity's best interest to be so outwardly corrupt as they're being lately. Like, to me, it's just kind of like I grew up in a time like growing up in Puerto Rico where every politician that has ever crossed Puerto Rican legislature has been corrupt like a mother. I mean, it's always been like that. But I guess their style of corruption had some class. Like, they would steal the people's money, but man, the roads looked gorgeous. The airport was phenomenal. Schools were beautiful. They left some footprint and reform that you could point at and go like, that politician did that. That's no shit. They still stole your money. They did. And we found out about it. But a lot of people knew about it. But it was like, take it. Because what they left behind was fine, was good. They made good legislative moves that brought prosperity to the masses. They lined their pockets, but nobody gave a damn because they did so much for the people anyways that nobody cared if they got rich off of our backs. Because look at what we're doing now, you know. And we're in a situation where it's almost like we're purposefully being bankrupt. And I cannot understand for the life of me why. And everybody's like, oh, well, New World Order and the new this and the centralized this. That's not it. Somehow I don't think that's it. I don't think we're going to breach that subject and get down to that nitty-gritty in this podcast. But, I mean, it's just, if anything, I'll leave people with something to think about. Just so you can do your own research, you know, and just kind of...
I mean, like a remote currency.
Yeah, but I mean, do your own research. I just filed my taxes the other day. I had to freaking check boxes on that tax form, and I had to explore things on that tax form that I had never dealt with. I had to check boxes on whether I traded in cryptocurrency, whether I traded in all these things that the government used to not ask not even a year ago. Mm-hmm. They didn't give two damns about it. Now they give a damn about it, and I get it. People hide money in crypto and stuff like that. It's been happening. They want tax your capital gains. I get it. So I get it. But Bitcoin's been around for a hot minute now. They're just now realizing this because somebody somewhere got too rich for their bridges, and now it's an item.
And the government didn't get a cut.
The government didn't get their cut, so now Uncle Sugar's pissed off, and you know somebody's gotta get something done. I don't know. I just like, if anything we do with this podcast, and you get anything out of these conversations that just two regular guys are having, the two regular guys have been through an unreal and exceptional experience through life, period. We've worn many hats and we've done many, many things, all blue collar, and you know we've worked our asses off. And if you get anything out of this, it's just like, don't pay so much attention to the TikToks. Don't pay so much attention to all these social media stuff. Do your own research. Pick up whatever we say. Pick up a topic of what we discuss and let that spark that sense of curiosity that has led us to being right here, you know, and has led other people to be where we are at, you know. So just kind of let that spark your curiosity. Listen to Alex Jones. I listen to Young Turks. I listen to Infowars. I listen to Steven Crowder. I listen to the Hodge Twins. I listen to all them dudes. I listen to a bunch of the other liberal guys on the other side. Why? Some of it's ridiculous. Some of it is not. But there is truth in everything that is being brought by all these people. There's a truth to it in some extent. And if anything, it sparks curiosity into actually researching it and finding out for myself. So if you get anything out of this podcast, grab a topic that we may discuss and just kind of like grab that and let that be that thread that you pull on. You're like, oh, what the fuck are these guys talking about? So this seems interesting. And then go down your deep rabbit hole and educate yourself, because nobody's going to do it for you. One thing that you got to realize is the government does not benefit from a population that is well informed. That's one thing that governments, period. And I'm not saying ours specifically. I'm saying governmental entities, period, across the world throughout history. They do not benefit from well-educated population. I'm not saying I'm the most educated person out there, but I'm very curious about things. So hopefully if we do anything with this podcast, it just spark that curiosity in you and start researching and looking into some of these things, because they're so fascinating when you really get down to it. Plus, it's something good to listen to in the background when you're doing the dishes or something, or cutting grass or whatever, you know. So, if anything, it's just, you know, little entertainment, you know. But y'all have a good day wherever you're at in the world. Don't forget to like, subscribe. We're going to be trying to put at least a video per week for now, schedule permitting. So you can follow us right here on YouTube, and we got a page on Facebook and whatnot, you know, Addie's Podcast, you know. So see y'all next time.